work that they did. And that is typically the pathway towards the work-life balance guru. So here's the unfortunate thing. You've got to look at the statistics. People who earn over 100 grand typically work 55 hours per week. But there's work and there's work. So you and I work enormous amounts of hours, but we're not digging up roads. We're not laying cables. We're not doing boring, repetitive stuff. In most cases, our work is creativity. It's publishing things. It's pitching deals. It's sitting there in Dragon's Den, analyzing what's going on. It's doing interviews. So there's a new style of work. So when people get angry about work-life balance and they say, damn it, work-life balance has to be a thing, it's normally because their association to work is that work is such a negative thing and work is something you have to do in order to make money. And when people say, oh, I do 55 hours a week and I love it, they go, well, something's deeply wrong with you. It's like,
you're toxic.
Yeah, you're toxic. Well, actually,
it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I'm doing something that's deeply fulfilling and passionate, and I can do it from home, and I do it online, and it's digital, and I see my kids all the time while I'm doing it, and I actually don't feel like I even work that hard. I'm just enjoying it, but I am doing that stuff. Keep in mind this: if you're doing a lot of hard work that doesn't develop an asset simultaneously, it's probably going to end up toxic. You may burn out. If you do a lot of hard work that simultaneously develops an asset, the asset value eventually takes over, and then you're working completely by choice.
So simplify that as if I was a 10-year-old.
If you create podcasts and those podcasts go onto YouTube and that people can watch them a year later, 2 years, 3 years later, you've developed something that has a life of its own and it's going to continue to create value without you having to physically be there. So if your work is creating a byproduct of an asset, if you own the company that you started and you own the shares in that company and that company becomes more and more successful and the equity value becomes more and more valuable, your work is creating a valuable asset. If, like my wife, you renovate horrible properties into amazing properties, her work creates income and an asset simultaneously.
What's the opposite of that? Where you're working but you're not creating any assets?
Well, an Uber driver.
I used to work at McDonald's for 2 days.
I worked in McDonald's as well. I loved working at McDonald's. The asset that I created was a deep appreciation for systems. But the problem with being an Uber driver is that you can actually do 16-hour days. However, at the end of 16-hour days, that's it. You've earned that amount of money and you've not developed any additional asset. You've just performed a role. So you're not building simultaneously an asset. The people who love their work and don't burn out are the people whose work creates income and asset at the same time, and they're doing something that's fulfilling and passionate.
And an asset could be reputation, skill, deep skills.
Yeah, something that has a life of its own, something that lives beyond the day that you created it.
Daniel, thank you so much. We do have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they're leaving it for. And the question left for you is, what is the one thing you'd wish you'd known about sex and relationships in your youth that you later learned?
A lot of the enjoyment of sex is the relationship that you're having with someone outside of that moment.